Right, you join me in part 3 on how to make a basic model in Bryce. We're going to make the body section today. We're going to get rid of the camera to start with. Now what we're doing here is just making something simple, okay? I'm just showing you how to intersect. But once you get used to intersecting and making things bigger and smaller and moving things around, you can start constructing your own things in Bryce. Now the tutorials out there are a little bit confusing, and books tend to be very confusing. They don't quite give you the plain English way of doing things, like the hands-on. So what I'm showing you is just some of the basics of what you can do with Bryce, and it's down to you to take what I show you and go off and do your own thing. So I'm going to start with the sphere, which as per normal I'm going to bring in 50 units from the ground and plonk it up there. I'm going to change its color to black, and I'll change its attributes to positive. Okay, we've already done that before. So far, easy. Okay, so we just have a blank sphere. Now what we're going to do is we're going to think. Okay, now a leg's going to come off the side of here, like that. So a bearing's going to be about here. About one leg this side, one leg that side. So this will contain 2 legs. And then we're going to repeat this 3 times. So we'll have 6 legs. Okay. You got that? Good. So having a sphere like this with 2 legs coming off of it, it looks okay, but it will be quite boring to look at, really. Okay, so let's pretty it up a little bit, shall we? Now what I'm going to do is, while it's highlighted, is press Ctrl and D, and I'm going to make this sphere smaller, a lot smaller. I'm going to make it 8 in all its axes and click OK. Alright, so there we have it. We've got that one there, negative. Okay, now we're going to do something slightly different. I'm going to go in and change it to gold. Okay, finding which is left and right, which is X, I'm going to move that sphere out to the edge, like so. Alright, so it looks like that. Alright, if we highlight and group this back together again now, that sphere has cut a little golden dimple into the side of the big sphere. Okay, got that? Because this negative boolean is gold, it transfers its color over to the black, so it makes it look a bit cooler, I think. Right here. Now, not only do I want to put that this side, I like it to go around a little bit, okay, around the circumference of this major sphere. So we're going to do what we did with the chicken bone. We are going to replicate this, okay. While the shape's highlighted, we're going to Control D. We've copied it. I want to flip the X to that side, so we go to our flip tool, which is underneath the edit there, and flip it on the X. Go back up to X, and we're going to move this so the center spheres line up again. Okay, ungroup the right hand, ungroup the left hand, and as we did before, we now have 2 negative spheres, but we also have 2 positive spheres. We don't need 2 positive spheres, so we are going to highlight one, Control X, and get rid of it. When we group that back together again now, we end up with a dimple on one side and a dimple on the other side. Got it? Easy, easy peasy. Right, ungroup. Now I want to replicate this around there. Okay, so what we need to do is click on the sphere and move it up out of the way. Highlight these 2 and group. Go back to that sphere there, put it down to where it was, which was 50. Line it back up like that, and now we click on the 2 negative spheres. Now, like I said before, we want to rotate it around the outside that way. So we look what's facing us, which is Z. So I know if I rotate using Z, it will move it around that way. Okay, so while these are highlighted, I'm going to press Control D. I want these to be 90 degrees rotated on the Z, so I'll go into attributes, rotate, Z, 90. Okay, you got that? So now we have that, which looks kind of cool. I'm going to control D once more, and I'm going to rotate it 45 degrees. Okay, so you end up with that, which I think looks pretty cool. Control D again. Now I've got to flip this that way. I can either go to here and tell it to flip that way, like so, or I can go into the attributes where it says 45, click just in front of the 4 and put a minus there. It does the same thing. Okay, so we end up with that, a very fat daisy. Okay, highlight everything, ungroup everything, group it all back together again, and you end up with that. Okay, which looks kind of cool. Yeah, jolly good. So that's how you got made a little pretty body section. Now what we got to do is we got to merge this with the leg we've already made. Okay, not only are we going to merge it, we will then have to resize certain things. So I'll show this step by step. I'm going to save this as body 1. I have loads of other bits in there already from other tutorials I'm working on, but that's body 1. Okay, so that is saved. Now when I merge, which is something we haven't done yet, what I mean is I will go to merge up here, and it will ask me whether I want to save. If I've moved this, and I'll say no. I find the part I want to use, which will be the leg done that we've made, click OK, and it will bring it in here. Not only would it bring it in here, so I'll have the leg and this part, I will then have 2 planes or 2 floor planes like this here. We don't need 2 floor planes. So before I merge, I've controlled X, and now the floor plane is gone, leaving me just this, like that. Okay, where we made it. Now, I'm going to go to merge. You don't need to save it, we've already saved that part, so no, don't save. Find leg done, okay, and click OK. And then to your shock and horror, it comes in and it's huge, okay, and you think, oh, what do I do? Well, don't panic, everything's fine. Click away from the screen, okay, click on the leg, find what's left and right, which is Z, and move it out the way for the moment, okay. Click on the shape we just made, which you can see there, okay, and you'll notice it's round the wrong way. I want that to marry up with that, okay. So we go into attributes, we go to rotate, and we go to Y. Remember, Y will knock it around sideways, so we click on OK, like so, and now it's around the right way. But then you think to yourself, well, that bearing is bigger than there. Okay, now we can either make this bigger so it fits in there, or we can make this smaller. Now which way you do it, you're going to have to do this at some point, so logic would dictate, let's take the smallest thing and make it bigger. Now I'm just going to grab a corner here which will resize this shape. Okay, you grab a corner like so, hold the left mouse button down and move it left or right until it expands. Okay, you can compare the size of those 2 shapes and think, okay, it's nearly there. I think that is about right. Okay, does that look right? I'll grab the shape and line it up and think, yeah, that's about right. You notice I just grabbed that and moved it across manually. Well, once you get it in line like that, you think, ah, that'll work. But then you might notice you look across the top and think, wait a minute, it's not lined up this way. Well, that's easily reconciled, and I'll explain. The leg here, if you look at its attributes, it is positioned completely 0 on the X axis, which means this part towards and away from you is dead center on the Bryce arena. We click on the shape we've just made. Look at its attributes. On the X, it's not in the same position. So all we need to do is just backspace that and type in 0. Hit OK, and now that will move that back so it's in line with that bearing. Okay, you see it? Now it looks like the bearing is snugly going into that little dimple we've created. Okay, you got that? Not hard, was it? No. Now what we need to do, don't panic, but what we're about to do is we're going to group that with the body. Okay, like so. Group it all together. Now we need to zoom out for this bit, because what we're going to do now is copy the whole of this, okay, and flip it that way. You got that? Okay, so Control D, I've copied it. I'm going to flip it Z like so, and now I've got to line this leg up by using Z move across, so the two little body parts here line up, okay, which is a bit tricky, like so. Once you've done that, you can click on ungroup on that one, you can click on ungroup on that one. Okay, so we have two legs, and because we have two body parts, we can click between these two groups on this body part, and then we can Control X and remove it. So now we have two legs on one body. Do you see that? Pretty easy, yeah? Zooming out, we're going to group a whole lot together, and now we're going to reposition it in the middle of this Bryce arena. Okay, so we're going to move it back so it's dead center. We're going to leave the height where it is on the Y. We're going to make sure X and Z are 0, and there it is. It's in the middle of the Bryce arena. That's one pair of legs complete. So we're going to save that as one pair of legs. A pair of legs, okay? And save that. And that is the next part done. Okay, that's part 3. You got that? Jolly good. I hope that wasn't too difficult, okay? Now part 4, what we're going to do is we're going to replicate these legs, and then we're going to angle them into the right positions, and then concentrate on the head and the abdomen. So I hope that's not too complicated so far. From me to you, take care, thanks for watching. If you've got any questions, go to my Facebook page, and by all means type out anything you need to know, and I'll certainly answer you. So from me to you, take care, all the best, bye for now.